your cable or internet bill went up 245%, but your services went down 60 to 80%.
Not keeping that service. That sucks.
Would you keep paying?
No, I'm a businessman. Who the would do that?
Your internet and your cable, those services went down 50 to 80%. Would you keep paying cable at those rates?
Is what I'm paying for still useful? Am I still using it?
The 14 channels.
Yeah.
At 245%. Are you cutting the cable?
Yeah, I'm cutting. It doesn't make sense. Any of that.
He's defunding cable. You heard it right here.
What? No, chill out. Wait.
I'm mostly pro-choice, so that kind of affects how I feel about that, but it's a tough one.
You're probably in the same camp?
Yes, I am.
I don't think that that's necessarily a fair comparison because, again, it's apples and oranges. Well, we're talking about entertainment as opposed to talking about, like, healthcare.
We're talking about common sense. If you have to pay more for less services.
Well, no, that's true.
Do you think Planned Parenthood should be defunded?
See, I don't know what they do enough to have an opinion on that.
Luckily, Live Action's fabulous news team makes it easy for us. Now, very quickly before I go on to these numbers, if you haven't already, subscribe to our Live Action news channels and bookmark this webpage on your web browser because the legacy media is afraid, terrified of reporting on this. And here's the kicker. Planned Parenthood is a 501c3, so they have to tell us what they're up to. So I find it incredibly odd that so many people are confused about what they actually do. Anyways, let's start there. What does the largest abortion provider actually do, or not do anymore? Well, here's the breakdown I got from my bestie, you already know, researcher Carol. Get this. Since the year 2000, taxpayer funding to Planned Parenthood has increased 245%. From 202 million to nearly 700 million. And the abortions have nearly doubled from 197,000 to 390,000. But look at what has decreased. Just in the last decade, total services decreased over 16%. Total clients decreased by 30%. Facilities by 25%. Donors nearly 14%. Contraceptive services nearly 40%. And then for the following services, Planned Parenthood basically does none to very little. Prenatal care has decreased a whopping 68%. Cancer screenings plummeted nearly 59%. Breast care dropped nearly 62%. Pap tests decreased nearly 60%. Adoption referrals decreased nearly 22%. Planned Parenthood now commits over 228 abortions for every one adoption referral. So why are we giving more and more of our taxpayer dollars to an organization that does fewer and fewer services for less people at less locations? But wait a minute, they call themselves Planned Parenthood. Doesn't that kind of sound like they help with the whole having a child process? It's kind of confusing, isn't it? It makes it seem like they provide all these options, services, and choices to help people plan one of the most beautiful aspects of their life. Doesn't that make their branding or marketing seem kind of, deceptive?
If I understand it right, Planned Parenthood supports people that, birth rate is going down, right? So you really don't want to be taking any funds from anything that is assisting people that are looking to birth children. I really think that's one of the last places where you should cut funding. I think education and health services, that's like super important. That's that's how we prosper in Western countries, right? But
that name is a little bit misleading because it's not necessarily about planning parenthood.
Planned Parenthood is what type of initiative, since we're talking about that?
It's an abortion business.
Don't support that. No, had I known Planned Parenthood is like something with abortion, I would have said I would like to skip the question.
But the sleight of hand over the name and some of their worn out messaging is just the tip of the iceberg. It gets even worse, much worse. Planned Parenthood, which continues to receive the bulk of its taxpayer dollars through Medicaid reimbursements and the Title X family planning program, has repeatedly failed to abide by mandatory reporting laws regarding child sexual abuse. Yet both Medicaid and Title X require participants to comply with state and federal laws regarding the reporting of abuse.
How did Planned Parenthood, your Planned Parenthood, the other ones you knew about, treat cases of child sexual abuse?
We were all required to be mandatory reporters, but if we saw a case of questionable abuse, or even for sure, this kid is being abused, we really were discouraged from calling it in just because they didn't want to have the trouble, the angry parent, the angry boyfriend, whatever it was. So more than once I was told, no, that is not reportable, you don't need to call it in.
So you mean to say if a 13-year-old goes into a Planned Parenthood claiming to be pregnant by a 31-year-old, the employees there might be willing to cover up the statutory rape? There's no way that happens.
I don't want to know how old he is. Okay. Okay.
What do you mean?
I don't want to know how old he is. Okay. Because in the state of Indiana, anyone 13 years and younger, there has to be a report done to CPS.
He might be
Doesn't matter.
a lot older, but he doesn't act a lot older, you know? And I act a lot older than I am, so it works out because he might be 30.
Just sick. And let's not forget that accusations of abuses, scandals, fraud, racism, pregnancy discrimination, privacy breaches, and Medicaid fraud continue to pile up against Planned Parenthood. We list them all in detail right there, but let me help paint a clear picture for you. You know who really loves Planned Parenthood? Pimps, sex traffickers, rapists, abusers, overage boyfriends, all of them need abortions to keep doing what they love most. So what can be done? Elon Musk has been tapped by Donald Trump to head the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, a new government agency tasked with reducing waste and spending. Now it appears that Planned Parenthood could be in their crosshairs after they specified in a recent op-ed published by the Wall Street Journal that DOGE will help end federal overspending by taking aim at the nearly $300 million to progressive groups like Planned Parenthood. According to Elon and Vivek, DOGE will present this list of regulations to Trump, who can then, by executive action, immediately pause the enforcement of those regulations and initiate the process for a review. That's what they said. But could they actually make any significant changes? Have you heard of DOGE, the government of efficiency, coming in?
Briefly, I did.
I'm all for it.
Some services or some organizations like Planned Parenthood get like $300 million a year. Is that somewhere you think they can cut?
Probably a little bit.
I think it's certainly something worth looking at.
I think the federal government is way bloated and it needs to be reduced. As a former teacher, I do think that federally it should not be in the hands of the government.
Elon and Vivek said they wanted to maybe cut $300 million that goes to certain groups like Planned Parenthood. Should that money be taken from them and given to schools?
That might be a good idea.
What do you think about, they said in the op-ed that they might target $300 million that goes to Planned Parenthood. Do you think Planned Parenthood should be defunded?
I don't agree with Planned Parenthood. I really don't. As a woman, I feel that women around the country have been lied to their whole lives as to what this does to their life.
Whether you're for or against abortion, should taxpayers fund other people's abortions? That's a good question. 2,800 babies a day. That's what we're funding. Yeah. And so it's like, could that fund maybe go to some schools that are lacking in certain
I didn't know it was that many, but I do know that, there's a lot across the country.
Citizens pay for other people's abortions.
There's programs and other places where you can, give up the kid. I would say to each his own, but I will say at the end, every knee shall bow. And that's something you guys, or whomever, will have to take up.
Here's the bottom line. People shouldn't be forced to pay for abortions and support organizations that fail to abide by mandatory reporting laws regarding child sexual abuse. Share this video with your friends and tell President Trump, Elon, and don't forget RFK that we need to stop killing America's future. Our federal tax dollars should not fund Planned Parenthood. Like always, like and subscribe to our live action news channel so you don't miss out on any drops or breaking news. Garcia out.